Hey, what's up, guys? So, this video is going to be done a little bit differently, and that's basically because I was on Updog stream again. Hey, what's up, guys? So, this video is going to be done a little bit differently, and that's basically because I was on Updog stream again last night. And I'm not able to record, and then if I did, or if Updog sends me the recording, it will be from the stream. And that's why I put out two separate videos yesterday so you guys can see the difference. So this one will be done pretty much like the first video from yesterday that I released, where we kind of go through the results and a replay, and then, I'll show you guys the score and how things ended after near the end. So the first room, you can see what happened here. I went in with Superior 6 on a unlimited BK Tango Web team. And this is for the title of the video. Always double check. Double check things. So when you change your defense, double check it. Make sure you got things set. Make sure you got ISO set. When you take something off of defense, you put on offense, double check. Make sure you have that team on your roster. For example, I did not have my Darkhold on my roster. And we'll talk about that in a bit, how that would change everything up for me had I put them on my roster, because I took Secret Defenders off defense. That meant Morgan was off defense. And that meant now I have Darkhold on offense, or available for offense. I forgot that I had him on offense. So as you can see here, I had used Superior 6, and then I came back with APOC. And I originally had this room planned to use Superior 6 with APOC or Cabal with APOC. But I had APOC planned to use. And just in the conversation, I don't think the guys would like go with it, but they were just saying, hey, you can take that team with just Superior 6. And I was like, oh. And just in the heat of the moment in discussion, I went in with Superior 6 and lost. I mean, you can see the Black Knight is there, and I'll show you the recording because it was close and it was almost could have been done. The RNG factor comes in that made it where it couldn't happen. Of course, if I would have had APOC, it would have just got one shot. And so that's why I'm saying check and double check, because I went through this trial, the last trial of the week, and benched APOC.
Oh my God.
I just benched him.
No.
One of the top most powerful tunes I could use in Cosmic Crucible. Benched him. So let's just take a look at this video, the first one. We'll see how this goes. And then the second one, I don't think there's really any need. You can see it was just Black Knight and what I went in with. But here we go. So the advice I was given to go ahead and use Mysterio instead of Vulture, which I think was solid advice because Mysterio can put out blinds. You can see how the Superior 6 comes out strong and making light work out of Weaver, making light work out of 99. Gambit and Rogue look like they're in trouble. And so really what it comes down to is just how do you take care of this Black Knight? And so what happens is somewhere in the course of here, and I'm trying to see when it took place, but not my Black Knight, my Mysterio, the original Mysterio, gets permakilled. And so without him, and there it is. So he got killed, or I believe that was him that got killed. He gets killed, and then, so now he can't be revived. And so you'll see how that plays out near the end, because what I'll do is I'll speed up this part of the video so you can see it play out. Well, after this attack here, you can see Rogue just really caused a lot of damage and just changed the game. But even so, there was a chance, had one of these Mysterios been able to be revived. And that's the one. He gets permakilled there. And so now these are just all dupes. And I summon the dupes with the hope to have Mysterio revived. So very close to being able to pull it off. And that one move, even with how well things were going or making a mistake and not doing something to Rogue, kind of sealed the deal on this. So let's just let it play out and then we'll go to the next video. So you can see how terribly wrong that went. It's could be possible, and maybe it would have made for good entertainment. You know, it's a stream. Like I said, I don't blame anybody, and I could have just double checked my roster and said, "Oh, hey, right, I got APOC," and went in and one shot this. Yeah, but I didn't, and so that's the results of just like not double checking your roster. So as we go here, it's pretty obvious how this played out. I think you guys have seen this enough times. I'm not gonna play it, but when played correctly, this is a pretty good score, 83-68. Now I have a really big Bifrost, but at this level, most guys will probably have one because they're doing the higher raids. So even I think if your Bifrost is smaller and you're doing a punch up, it's doable. Your efficiency may not just be this high. And I'm not saying it's super high because you can see I got some damage with the health or lower score with the health, but the turn bonus is super high, so it just kind of went in my favor. Okay, so now for room three, we'll go in and we'll take a look at this. Now, the thing that, once again, check and double check. I had added Echo and I didn't check to take off my filters. And so I had a better placement order. I had the placement order that probably would work because Echo was either the far corner or almost all the way away from Absorbing Man. And of course, by not setting or taking off the filters, you'll see where the placement order is and how that could have just cost me the match if it weren't for Kang just being so overpowered in his room to help me through. And so you see the placement order. I have Absorbing Man in that flanking position with Echo right next to him. And so the fact that she even lived this long is just because I have her at G18, because I think if she was smaller, she'd already be dead. And if she were dead this soon, then the counters would come into play. Now, I got some help from Sham, and he kind of helped me get the attack order going, but he brought it to my attention like, oh boy, you got a bad placement order. Or I think it was actually Updog said you got the placement order bug. And it's like, wow, I do. Fortunately, the room buffs worked in my favor enough, to where I was able to pull us out. And you see how strong Cyclops is, and that could have been it. But once again, you see how strong Kang is, and it was able to get done. The moral of the story, check and then double check. And so here, following the check and double check, had I taken time when I pulled my Morgan off defense with the Juicy special in room 6, and I put my Secret Defenders on offense. I saved Secret Defenders, or maybe I had Secret Defenders already saved. I did not save Darkhold. And it's totally slipped my mind that probably I could have used my Darkhold to counter this room. I've heard it's very efficient. I haven't even watched the video yet. I would have watched the video just to be sure. But I've heard it's very efficient to use your Darkhold, just a regular straight Darkhold, on this room. That would have meant Hive Mind for somewhere else, as well as Scroll for somewhere else. And even though APOC Superior 6 was a good call and it would have one-shotted, just imagine how much higher my efficiency could be if I were using Scroll anywhere else, and I didn't have to use Scroll here. So I don't think this is really worth showing, so we're going to just skip by it. It's probably been seen enough times and can be somewhat predictable on how this is going to come out. So here is my Secret Defenders against the Infinity Watch. And this is a huge punch down. I'm not going to show it to you guys. I think you saw one yesterday. And this guy has diamonds galore on his Infinity Watch. But I have a decent amount of diamonds on my Secret Defenders. And of course, most of them were for my arena team. So they're just really built. And it just goes to show that, it's not great efficiency, but it's not terrible efficiency. And this is just a solid counter to this room. And so if you guys were to decide to put Secret Defenders on offense, when you start seeing Infinity Watches as 2 mil, 2.5 mil, or even higher, you will just be able to just comfortably beat them with your Secret Defenders. So this is Cabal, Lizard, and Vulture. And I got this counter from Desir a while back. And this just kind of goes in and makes light work of the Juicy Special in here. Not saying there's not other counters that would. And so the double checking would have just allowed me to use scroll somewhere else for even better efficiency on one of my other rooms. And as you can see, that that would have really increased some of the final scores of these battles. So let's take a look at the defense. And so here we have where my opponent used his superior six to go into my Duelam special here. Like I said, you guys have probably seen this enough times. I'm not gonna show it, but he had pretty good efficiency. It's not great, but it's not terrible. 8362. He took some light damage with the health, and he had a decent turn bonus. And I think this is ideal as you can get. So taking a superior six into this room is a solid counter. And so this is where he uses Bifrost. Now he's got a really strong Sylvie, so I'm not quite sure what happened where he almost lost her. But he was able to pull it off. I mean, his health bonus is down a bit, but because he's alive, it's still decent. His turn bonus is really good, and it's actually a pretty good score, 8365. So he turned it around and did really good with it, as well as, what is this, a 600K punch up. And so here, for whatever reason, and I'll run this, he used his new warriors without Echo. And it'll be interesting just to see how this takes place, what was going on, because he did not have Echo. Where I think yesterday a guy went in, he didn't have Echo, but I had Nick in there, and Nick did not bring any value. In this case, not having Nick was better, or maybe by having X23 was better. So let's take a look and see what happens. Okay, so Noir goes first. Here's Gwen. Gwen has some kind of buffs removed. I don't know all the signs on him, so... Wow, wait a minute. Cloak is dead already. So that's pretty massive. And the war hits again and takes that. This was really... Like, how did he pull this off with what he has left is really pretty amazing. But the moral of the story would be for this is like, you got to go in. If you see New War, you go in with a Echo of some type. And maybe this counter could have worked. I'm not one for really wanting to use New Warriors in here if I don't have to. I would rather use Masters of Evil just because of the room rules and how much power they get. But clearly, they could probably get it done had he had an Echo. And so here, we can see by the turn bonus, this was a quick match, 8371. But you have Scroll in here, so we can pretty much imagine that when Scroll had a chance to go, if not just Scroll, and then APOC just made light work of this. And maybe that was just his plan, just to nuke this room for whatever his reasons were. But at the end of the day, if my Black Order Quicksilver can pull all of this, I'm perfectly fine with it. And so here is the room I was actually thinking about earlier, my Infinity Watch, and how they held the room. And so you can imagine if he dropped a room and I dropped a room, then that changed the match around into my favor. But let's just take a look to see how it goes with him trying to use Eternals, which he has a pretty strong Eternals. He's got a pretty strong team, period, all G18. And this did not work. So he goes in and he understands the counter, and he's playing it exactly as I think it would be scripted. But at some point, somebody gets overpowered for whatever reason. And I made my Gamora really strong because in a Duelam video, and he misses. In a Duelam video, that was bad for him. Icarus got blinded, and then Gamora one-shot him when she got empowered with her ultimate. So I'd like to see if something similar happens here, because something turned this to where he could not win. And somebody of significance gets taken out at some point. Wow, so is it Icarus? No, yeah, it is Icarus. So they took out Icarus, and that's probably pretty much match over. No matter how much power he has with OR or Nova, I don't think that they would be able to finish off the Eternals. Even if they take out Gamora, the rest of the tunes are still pretty powerful. And I did take this team to level 100. all G18, and that was the plan to eventually do it, but I just went ahead and finished them off last night just in case I needed them to be stronger for today. And so it turned out to be the right move. So that was really good to see. And what I'm starting to see here is that there's a great deal of RNG that can go against Eternals. And what we're seeing is that if anybody's going to get blinded, it will be Icarus because that's not by a fluke. So something's happening with this room, and perhaps with the placement order and the size of of your teams in the matchup. Maybe when they're basically around the same power, that the Icarus can get blinded and then get one shot. And so that when that happens, it's pretty much match over. So we're not going to show the second one because we know it's a cleanup. We know it went well. And we're just going to move on to the last room here. And so this is Cabal. He's got Cabal with Kang and Titania, which is typically a very strong team. And my concern here is the health bonus. So we'll see what happened if anybody was close to dying. His turn bonus is decent. It's a 23. The health bonus took him down, so it's an 83.59, which I would say is on the lower side. My thought process is anything under 83.61 is ideal. But let's just see how this plays out because that's what this room is for. Out of time in 6 is to pull Cabal. And so Titania comes out pretty aggressively, and we do have a vulnerable on Black Knight. He's hit pretty hard, but let's see if he recovers, if that's what kind of drags this match out. Yeah, he recovers a bit, so that's part of it. Cap looks like your Cap is gone, and Starbrand is gone. So the match is really pretty quick, other than just them taking damage. So I'm not quite sure how that damage came in so severe, but at the end of the day, the job was done according to plan. They pulled Cabal. They actually held the score under 83.61, which is ideal for me. And what it did is it led to the final score. And the final score is because of my Infinity Watch, I was able to pull off a win, even with making a mistake. And as my video I put out earlier, it was like, get lucky, because I could have had regrets. And at the end of the day, I can take control, much, much better control, not only by making some key shifts with offense and defense, but as going in and just double checking. Once again, when I make those changes, check my ISOs, check my placement order, check to make sure my offensive teams are saved as I change my defense to offense, check to make sure my teams are in the correct rooms, and then when it's all said and done, when I'm making my list of attacks, double check. If I make adjustments, double check again to make sure I'm using all of my tunes. Because one of the mistakes Jasir made just yesterday was he went through his teams and he had scroll placed twice. And so I go through my teams and I bench APOC. And so these can be crucial mistakes that can cause for a loss. In my case, I got lucky, or however you want to look at it, good timing to take the rest of my Infinity Watch up to 100 and was able to sustain and get the win. But it's just more food for thought, guys. Okay, chat later.